Hmm. It's working fine, right? Okay. Yeah, and I'm just gonna. Wait, does my shit work? Mm. Uh, the candle flame one. I'm not too sure because it started out as a sketch. It's a bit hard to tell exactly, but you know, a couple of hours, I guess. Oh, cool. Well, there was actually a commission for Suicide Sheep, or whatever the guys are called. They're like a music channel. I'll just do like some random sketch for now, and some people submitted questions and stuff. So I'll once a couple more join, I'll start answering and talking about art in general. So yeah. I hope my audio is okay because I can't actually check myself. Oh. Really? The only streams I've seen were like with a webcam. I don't know. That's why I decided to do one. I don't really care, but I figured since I'll be answering questions, I should show my face and stuff. Oh, thanks. Well, in any case, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys want to write. So just type them in. Wait, who is that? Yes, here. Yeah, Space Art Chat is the. I really miss space art. Well, doing space art, but. Oh right, yeah, I remember. Cool. Yeah, I really miss space art, but space art doesn't pay, so. Well, apparently, I've seen some people do like backgrounds and stuff, but as far as industry, space art is really like backgrounds is I guess is the only thing you can do with it. So for space games maybe or something like that. So yeah, space art is hard as far as a career choice. It kind of depends with the character. It usually if it's a whole scene, as in stuff is supposed to happen, like some battle or whatever, then you probably want to start with the entire like outline of the background and stuff, and then you add characters or at the same time. But if it's mostly a character piece, then you can start with a character, just the design of it and stuff, because the background doesn't matter that much. Depends, I guess, on what the entire piece is supposed to be. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, my art is like the only thing that keeps me together. So. So my main questions that, well, mostly people ask about inspiration and stuff. So I guess I'll just talk about that. And since I'm kind of into psychology and all that, I'll be a bit detailed. Now, when people talk about inspiration, there's actually like two parts to the problem. There's motivation and then there's inspiration. So motivation is sort of like having logical reasons to do shit. You know, like if you have bills to pay, or if you feel like you need to practice to get better, or if you need to, well, just basically anything that makes you sit down behind the computer or open a sketch pad or whatever it is and start painting. So this is like motivational reasons to start, and those you kind of need to identify which is your problem. Either you having to do this or you having no ideas. So the idea part is the actual inspiration. As in if you manage to sit down and start painting, but you just don't like how it comes out, or you don't like, you don't have any ideas, you don't know what to paint, and you just do a couple of brush strokes and you just don't like it. So this is the inspiration part. And well, inspiration can come from anywhere. Like the motivation is sort of like willpower. If you can force yourself to sit down and paint, you will get somewhere. Like you will, even if it's crap, you will at least practice. But as far as having ideas, well, people ask me for suggestions like how to, uh, how to get ideas, how to get inspired, and all that. You can get inspired from anything. You can take a walk or whatever. You can watch something. You can watch other people paint. You can watch, just browse, like go to DeviantArt, even though there isn't that much quality art nowadays. But you can go anywhere. Anything can inspire you. If you start, well, actually, let me do this. If you start, if you sit down and you start painting and you don't know what to paint, you can just Google something random, like, I don't know. You can even Google a random word or noun or something. Hold on. Random noun. Generator, okay. And you generate a couple of random words. And okay, so I got a cat. You go to cat and like Google some images for reference in case you have a problem, and just start at least doing, studies. So if like that's the problem or whatever, like do studies in general. That's not a bad way. You can do studies of, you can try to do a study of other people's art, but sort of doing it in a different style. So for example, or you can pick somebody with a really specific style, like, sorry, my hand is looking in front of the camera. Like Sparf. Sparf has like, I don't think anybody can, well, some people might, but not everybody can simulate the style. So you just pick something from Sparf and you try to do sort of like a study of him, because it's going to turn out very differently the way you're going to do it. And it's going to be a very useful practice. Or, you can try doing studies of, that's very common, of like old classic painters, from whatever Renaissance or era. Jesus, English is hard. But okay, so I got cat. And okay, here's a picture of, fuck this cat. Here's a bunch of cats. So here's a picture of cats, right, from Google. I mean, that's just to show, like, if you don't know what to do. So you just do random stuff first, like, I don't know. Like, just copy and paste stuff. It's basically it gives you a color palette, and, well, I'm right now living in Spain, but, anyway, so, you can Google some random image or whatever it is and just start doing random stuff until you see something that you like, that you want to keep painting on. So whatever you just like mash up. That's a bunch of cats, but you just mash this up. You have colors, you have texture, you have some forms. So you just do random shapes on top, and at some point you'll start seeing, yeah, Spain, jamon is like addictive. So yeah, so yeah, you just start, like, doesn't matter. Well, at first you just start like random colors, random shapes, random whatever. It doesn't have to resemble anything that the original image is supposed to be. Like, it doesn't have to be cats, even if it's a cat farm. So you just do, this white is a bit too white actually. Whatever, brush strokes until you fill the whole canvas with something. Let's merge this. And then, well, some gradients and all that. Just to have like some dramatic lighting. Oh, Rostran, right, the hyperactive guy. Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff, I guess. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good practice. It's a good way to start, and it's sort of like you don't need to think that much about it. So it's actually my friends were telling me to do like some hyperactive intro to get people interested, but I'm just not that guy. Well, anyway, you start with something random, and then you just start with a bunch of upside down cats, for example, and you just I see demons everywhere right now, so I'm kind of like apologizing. It's gonna be all similar because I'm working on a graphic novel, which is gonna be like about, well, demons and stuff. But yeah, like some forms, some shapes. Maybe it's gonna be like figures and whatever. And you start like this. So I hope that kind of solves your inspiration problems, because I'm not sure what else to suggest. Inspiration is, it's kind of up to the individual, and it's also, you can't rely on the same source of inspiration over and over again. You can't just, if you have like a favorite musician, you can just keep listening to the same music and hope that your English was perfect there, but well, to start from traditional to digital, I have some people that I'm working with right now that also have the same problem. It's, well, first you need to get used to to the new tools. Like if you're gonna do it on tablet and Photoshop, you need to get used to the program and to the tools, so like the pen and all that stuff. And I mean, there are lots of similarities, and in a way, once you kind of get used to it, there isn't that much difference between doing that, say, on a tablet and paper. But it's always, always gonna be, you just have to start like sketching on the tablet, because your basic understanding and skills are gonna be there. It's really like the bridge between not being used to the new tools. So once you start getting used to them, you'll eventually understand like how to progress in digital too. It's, I don't know. That's the best I can tell you. There isn't like a, well, the best way to start, I suppose, is you can start by, if it's with pencil, I mean, you would prefer to do line art, I suppose, because I'm painting right now. That's all values and all that stuff. So, but like with line art is more, you basically defining form instead of like defining light and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Once you get used to the device and to doing it on the computer, it should be fine. Maybe, I guess not everybody can afford a Cintiq right away, so that's really the biggest problem, that you'll always hesitate to invest that much. You wouldn't want to spend like $2,000 on a Cintiq if you're just trying to get into digital. So I understand that problem, but definitely if you are very used to traditional, a Cintiq, when you can paint right on the display, is definitely going to be much better for you. But again, it's also like a money question, so it's up to you. Rendering advice. Well, you can. I mean, you can also just sketch if you prefer to sketch first. Um, you can just sketch on paper and then have the line art. You can paint on top in Photoshop. That's pretty common in the industry as well. And I do line art quite a bit actually, and I do sketch on paper myself. Not that much nowadays, but I used to a lot, and it's pretty useful. when you do it, when you do a sketch first, it's usually maybe you actually should try just trying to do it without a sketch, like for a change, because when you do a sketch first, it sort of predetermines your entire image. When you start painting like I'm doing now, it's very random. Like the results aren't exactly what you expect. But with sketching, you always have more control, and basically when you have a good sketch, you will always try to get everything precise. So maybe that's where your problem comes in, that you kind of like not trying not to fuck it up or something like that. And because your sketch is like really good and you're not trying to like overpaint, like do rough edges and all that stuff, but just just ignore and try to paint to the best of your ability, and that's how you'll get better at it. Because a sketch, whenever a client or whenever I have like a very specific thing in mind that I want to paint, sketching is very useful because you just nail it down first. You nail down the form and composition. Time cost. Yeah, that's the same point. That if you're very used to traditional like painting on paper or on canvas, a Cintiq is definitely going to be better. But yeah, I understand the money question. I never studied art myself, nothing related, so I was very hesitant. When I got into digital painting, I was very hesitant into investing like into whatever better computer, better tablets. So I definitely understand that. I'm not trying to say, but there is, as of now, you can look at into different tablets. I hear there's lots of good alternatives to Cintiq that perform just as well. Especially considering that Cintiq is sort of like there's a lot of brushes that use the tilt and all this, all the fancy functions, which I'm not even using myself. So I don't. I'm wondering whether I'll be actually better off with a different uh, tablet. It's just that I never try. I was always using Vacom for you know throughout my whole art career, I guess. So I'm not really. I don't want to learn new things, but in that regard, as far as technology goes. So I don't know. Maybe there are better ones, but I can't really recommend any because I only used like Vacom myself. So I'm not sure. I used Intos myself and then Cintiq and all that. So hard to tell. But yeah, I totally get the disconnect part. It's always present. Like I said, it's this problem is really about not being used to the tools. Just the same as like a child, even if they want to draw and all that, they scribble on the walls and it's like crap. So it's once you get used to it. Well, the curtains are pretty ugly, I agree, but I'm just renting here, so. Yeah, I've heard of one tablet, like a tablet PC. I'm not sure. I can if you follow me on Facebook or whatever, I can look up and ask some friends who maybe tried some different tablets and stuff, and like write up some suggestions that you can try. Because like I said, personally, but yeah, enough about my curses already. I mean, come on. Yeah, Monoprice. I heard about. I heard about like damn something else. I keep like I said, I'll I'll make like a list of everything that my friends and whoever I know can suggest, and then you can check them out, like the prices and everything. So I can't offhand, I can't really tell you because, like I said, personally, I only used Cintiq, and so. Yeah, well, Cintiq is probably best because it's specifically for, Photoshop, and it uses all the, like the tilt brushes and all the different functions, and I think that's why it's actually better. But if you're just starting, or if you are not even using, all the features in Photoshop, I think other are perfectly fine. So I don't know. Man, I actually was gonna paint some dragons, but because people suggested dragons, so I'll get to that later. But I'm doing this. So this is what turns up from the cat thing, which is totally not cat-like, unless I'll do like some cat faces. Yeah, I mean, as far as like other, I don't think you started painting. I don't know, like 20 minutes ago or something. Well, I did like a quick sketch of another demon, which I'm gonna delete. But yeah, cat transforms into demons. Yes. Um, what was I talking about? Right, cats transform into demons. So, well, again, the most question I get is about inspiration. So that's my suggestion, to just like start something random and maybe like as a warm up, as I'm doing now, and then eventually um, you'll generate ideas just by doing it. Actually, the best advice I got on art block came from writers. Like you can go to YouTube and just like look for interviews of some like writers that you like. Whatever you read, Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, Anne Patchett, Lee Child. I just looked up all of those guys, and they, like interviews, and they talk about writer's block, which in the same, it's pretty much the same, except it's writers and artists. Just that our artists don't get interviews that much, as they're not as popular as writers globally, I guess. So you get those interviews with, and they talk about like art block, and they suggest like, yeah, you just like sit and you write whatever, and eventually you'll get into it. So that's like as far as inspiration goes, and I'd say it's pretty true. I mean, I never really had a problem like getting after I start. I never have a problem. So maybe that's just me, but I felt like, those the writers have good advice that applies to art as well. So, oh, and which, by the way, right now I'm actually really into audiobooks, because what it allows me is I can paint while also listening to a story, and that's pretty inspiring by itself too. So I'm just, maybe you ought to read or listen to some audiobooks or something like that. So that's always a good way to get inspired. And yeah, not sure what else to say about inspiration. As far as since it goes, I'll write up a list and you'll get like some suggestions. Hopefully, it's gonna help you. And yeah, okay. So another question I got is, well, there were some personal questions about like how I started art and all that, but I started art pretty randomly. I never really studied anything art related. I studied some random crap, which is completely useless right now. So, as a lot of colleges apparently are, I don't know. So yeah, I just started by myself, and I first also wasn't really into buying like new devices and all that. So I was doing, for a long time I was doing a lot of space art with just a mouse, and on a I don't know. And I started the first time I started was the early 2000s, and I had like a CRT monitor, and I was like doing like shit on in Photoshop on with my mouse and all that. So that was pretty sad times. Yeah, later I bought like a small Intel tablet and got a bit better. And later I just switched from space art, which was pretty simple in comparison, because doing landscapes is space art is very abstract, so you can just do whatever. Um, there's not much you can. Well, actually, space art could be a good practice. Well, not a good practice, but sort of like a good way to get motivated, because you don't you don't need to think much about it. It's just like painting some space stuff on stars and whatever. It's very intuitive, I guess. So if you're into that, so you can start with that, and you just foot in the industry. Um, well, so the way I got into the industry and doing like projects and stuff, it's just that I started doing illustration, so it's not so much the industry. My very first commissions were just from singular people. Like some guy wants a cover for a book, or some band wants like an album cover for the album or whatever. And it's not exactly the industry. It's just like separate. You might as well just go to DeviantArt forums and just like find some job offers they ask for, like, oh, I need a character design here and all that. So I started doing that, and I was doing that for quite a while. And after you get better, you sort of you start seeing noticing like projects that you feel like you can actually accept. And well, I guess I got a bit lucky, because I got contacted by a few like independent developers, and I did a few Kickstarters with them. And then afterwards, I was just like, I was looking out at, well, ArtStation posts lots of jobs, lots of different ones. Of course, lots of them, they require relocation, but there are a few that, they're okay with you working remotely. But yeah, I think breaking in is sort of, you'll just have, if you only want to do freelance, you'll just have to do smaller jobs until you have such a portfolio that you yourself feel very comfortable with working on some other project. And at that point, it'll be natural. You'll just see some of those projects, and you'll apply, and you'll be fine with that. So it just depends. When you talk about the industry, it depends whether you want to do it, in a studio. Because I worked in a studio like twice, which in total is maybe like 3 months or something like that. So I haven't really worked like in actual studios, like physically. I work for studios, but that's from my house. Like sitting at home and doing like whatever they want me to do. So that way, it's a bit different, because you're not, you can't accept all jobs, because you have to move for a lot of studio work, to be like on site, not like. So yeah, that's dream job. Well, studio. I'm not that into studio work. I mean, I had before, I had a lot of like, oh, I'd like to work for Valve, or uh, I don't know. To be honest, right now I'm not really feeling the AAA games, or Hollywood. I worked for like a Hollywood project like last year, and I didn't exactly like the way they do things. So I kind of prefer the way independent studios do it, but it's also less money, and also the projects aren't as big, and also it's kind of when you're working for an independent studio, let's say on a game, usually you're going to be there's going to be very few people working on the same things as you, as in you're going to be like probably the only concept artist or something like that. And it's going to be all on you, as in, if you're stuck, there's not going to be somebody else who can also like do a lot of creative input in the same way. So uh, that's really the difference. But I kind of prefer independent studios because they. How many hours do you spend drawing? Well, it kind of depends right now. I'm drawing like I take a day off or 2 days off in a week for sure. But other than that, I draw for a few hours a day. Well, the freelance, yeah, freelance is more about, because when I started doing that, like I said, I never had education or anything. I had nobody around me to suggest how to do anything like that for money. I had no like connections, nothing. So I just like started posting stuff, and eventually I did some singular commissions, and then I got some people asking like, hey, do you want to work on this project and that. So it was very slow progress, but there was no other way for me. There were no local studios for me to start working, so I kind of had to do freelance. There was no other way. And I learned to enjoy it. I don't really like studio because I don't like to get up at the same hour. My working schedule is like all over the place. Sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m. Sometimes I wake up 6 p.m. whatever. So when I do freelance, I can do a couple of illustrations or whatever in over the weekend, and then another time I'm like sort of stalling. But when you're on the freelance, it evens out, so it's fine. But in the studio, it's very different. But that's like, again, that's just me. Uh, I'm not sure if you have a studio locally. I mean, I'm talking about like breaking into the industry. If you have a studio locally, I mean, you can just visit or whatever, call, and if they have like job offers, you can just go for an interview or something like that. But as far as freelancing goes, it's never gonna be like this kind of. If you see job offers, like I said, check ArtStation, check. I'm not sure if concept art forums are still a thing, but they used to have like some things there. Maybe just Google, like if there are some other websites, because right now I'm sort of relying on people contacting me. I'm not so much on the lookout uh, myself. But yeah, I would say if you also want to do freelance, I would say you will have to just go slowly, I guess. Like do separate projects here, separate there. Because studio work, it's only if you move. There's never gonna be, well, there will be, but there's not that much studio work that would accept just like maybe for a few separate things. But if you want to work like full time as a concept artist, they usually want you to move to work locally with them. So yeah, that's the whole. If you're willing to move, sure, you can just like submit a portfolio, and they'll tell you whether they like you or not. I get this cat painting is not going anywhere. I feel I'm talking more than I'm painting. I'm sorry. Let's do something different. Well, maybe that's a bit too much. Sorry, what? Oh. Man, my chair is gonna be screechy off. Sorry, guys. It's like my chair is the main uh, the main tool that suffers from all the work. It's like destroyed. Oh, sure. Nice to see you too, man. Well, I have. Well, when I was starting, favorite artist. When I just started with space art, my favorite. Well, the guy that kind of inspired me into the whole art thing was Greg Martin, which he's like an old school guy as far as space art goes. So he's basically the reason why I started because I saw. Actually, I'm not even sure where I saw his art. I think I had like some weird disc with wallpapers or something like that, and I saw his art first there, and I was like, oh, okay, that looks really like beautiful and cool, and I kind of started trying to do something like that, and that's how I got into space art first. But then I suppose Craig Mullins, because like once I first heard the term concept art, because I was very like uneducated about this whole art scene. Once I first heard that, and I was like concept art, and Craig Mullins came up, and it was, you know, the first guy that sort of got me outside of into the general art scene as far as just painting goes and stuff. But there's a bunch of good artists that I really like for, I don't know, weird reasons you could say, because they're very non-mainstream. Uh, well, I'm not sure you know them, but I can do a list too in case you're looking to follow somebody unusual. Like somebody who's with a very specific style and very. There's this guy who does. His nickname on DeviantArt is Art Breathing 2004, some weird nickname. He does like very weird, well, not weird, but very unusual covers for. Uh, I think he did like Lord of the Rings editions in Asia, like an edition in Asia, and they're super stylistic. So this guy, I really like this guy. He's, as far as doing covers, he's like one of my main inspirations, because I like the way he frames things, and like, let me look for a link. Hold on a sec. Maybe I have them somewhere here. Oh man. But yeah, you can if you're into epic fantasy stuff, you can follow. Well, I'm sure you know about the Ruan Jia, who did. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but worked on Guild Wars, lots of the dragon stuff. Yeah, this guy. This is the guy. Link in chat. This is the guy I really like to just get inspired for like cover art, because it's just like his framing. Well, he does all kinds of stuff, I mean, but like specifically some covers and all the square framed art is the stuff I love the most from this guy. So yeah, I think he's really good. So yeah, I'm not sure. I can suggest some others if you're looking for inspiration. Well, the Polish guy who worked on Dishonored 2, maybe even the first one. I'm not sure. Jakub Rozais? No, wait. What's his? He's actually in that. I was doing an art book, and he was like part of it too. But yeah, he's pretty awesome, and he's. Hold on a sec. Uh, yeah, definitely. I don't want to. I mean, I like concept art, but I never want to follow like 50 people that do the same concept art. You know, it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but there isn't much point in following, you know, the same kind of like style over and over again. Or rather, following is fine. It's just that you probably wouldn't want to have like an inspiration folder or something with the same things. You want like as much versatility as possible. So yeah, there's this Eve Wentru. I'm not sure if that's pronounced. I think she's German. She does like very super hyper realistic character designs, and yeah, she's pretty awesome. She does like some cyberpunk kind of style, but they're like super realistic. They could be, well, maybe not exactly photos because they have some style to them, but yeah, they're very realistic. The faces are very well rendered and all the details. So she's pretty awesome. And I think like that. I'm not sure how it's spelled correctly, but something like this. Yeah, well, I'd say she's rendering better than Daniel Luisi because Luisi is all about highlights and stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's not bad or anything, but it's like it's very kind of pop art. Well, not pop art, but like it's very like in your face art. Like it's very flashy, very like Daniel Luisi. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't hate the guy or anything, but I'm just saying his art is very mainstream. Like you would see, I can picture his art on trading card games. You know, like Legend of the Cryptids kind of style. You know, because it's all the characters like very overwhelming me in the frame. Man, my English is like suffering here. But yeah. Yeah, I guess. He's sort of like his stuff is very polished, but it's very flashy to the point where I wouldn't call it like hyper realistic despite the rendering. If you know what I mean. It's not so much it's not like a photo because you know photos don't look like that. Like even if you took a photo of like a fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting, it wouldn't look like that. So he has like this kind of like you know, pop that like makes it flashy. So I mean, I'm not saying this is a negative. I'm just saying it's a different kind of like realistic. It's very rendered, very well rendered out, but not so much it's not subtle, and Eve Ventru is very subtle with a lot of like details. It's all polished, but it's also very subtle because it's like there's lots of kind of subtext details going on. You know, like some robotic parts. They're not like in your face. There's not like a big gun. There's like, you know, some robot like kind of like Ghost in the Shell. You know, when you have like a few pieces of the character body, just like not human or something like this, instead of like having a full cyborg who's like whatever, a huge shark, or you know, it's well, actually, like Daniel Uviz's art is hyper realistically like very polished and very detailed, but the whole like all the shapes and all the presentation is very comical because it's like over the top. So that's my verdict. Not saying it's bad, but that's what I think. So yeah, I kind of feel like bringing back some kitties here, but I don't know where to put them. I'll have like some cat. Scale. Yeah, scale is an interesting question because it's scale is like a combination of well, like in a landscape or in an environment, scale will be scale will depend on how like separate elements. For example, if you have two buildings, if you have a flat horizon line and the two buildings are the horizon line, you won't feel any. Oliver, shut up. So you know, like scale is like about having different elements being on different on different like at a different distance in different like positions and perspectives and all that stuff, and also about how a shape breaks up in smaller or bigger shapes in itself. For example, let me do like a small sketch for this, just to illustrate. So let's say you start a landscape, right? And you have like a big shape somewhere, like let's say a building or something, right? So let's say like this is the horizon line or whatever, and there's like a building or some structure, doesn't have to be, or whatever, it can be a creature, but some structure, right? And the way scale would work too is if it's super huge, you know, it's very hard to have a huge object uh, in like in a single solid shape. So usually like the shape breaks up and stuff. So for example, if this is like a building, it will have lots of smaller, you know, like panels, lots of smaller things going on there because that's how big objects are. You know, a big rock will always have lots of cracks, lots of you know, dents. If it's a big mountain, it's going to have lots of possibly some trees or some snow in there. It's going to have like all of those details that are like on the big shape. So, but if it's a small, you know, let's say if it's a small rock somewhere, it can be just a rock. You know, it can be whatever. So even if you zoom in on it, it's not gonna have like those details. A small rock doesn't have like lots of cracks, lots of whatever. So this is like one thing for the scale, and obviously comparison. So if you have a big building in the background, you can have smaller things in the foreground, like, you know, like around here, like a guy here. Well, that's just the most obvious example, like a guy here, and he has he you know this the you know the human figure, so you know that in comparison, this is like the whole distance. So in comparison, he'll obviously be much smaller, and the building is going to be much bigger, better. So yeah. Also, direction. What you want to do with the ground, if you have a landscape, is you want the texture to distort in such a way that it gives direction to the landscape. So not like, a lot of people do this mistake. A lot of beginning artists is when they do, let's say you do like some city landscape, right? So those are buildings. So they do this, and then they have, hold on a sec. And then they have like another kind of layer to this, which is gonna be, like that, right? Like well, those don't look exactly like buildings. Maybe there's trees or whatever, but you get the layering of this, right? And then you get another thing, which is, you do it like this, right? And this is basically this is like how a beginner would do it, because I mean, it's not bad. Lots of use for this kind of thing. So you see, it gives distance because there is like atmospheric fog in front of it and all that stuff. So the stuff in the fog, like here, it looks bigger or like further away, and therefore bigger than the stuff in the foreground. But you also want, in addition to that, if you're doing that, you want stuff to be like on the ground that sort of goes from one thing to the next and connects those things, and also gives like this distortion, because this part of the landscape, like this darkest part, it's not just like a single piece of land. It stretches too. So you need some texture to like stretch like this, or like then some parts to stretch, like in the background, some parts to stretch like this, maybe some roads or something that has that shows distance as well. So you have that, and that also amplifies the whole scale and distance thing. Well, that's like a crash course. I mean, I'd have to do like a separate piece to go in detail, but that's basically that. Oliver, you still there? You have some questions? I know you're a total noob, so I can educate you on art and stuff. Oh, maybe Oliver left. He's well, not exactly a friend, but a guy I know. Oh, thank you. Man, I need my kitty for reference. Well, I'll do like a demon kitty on the shoulder of this guy. I don't know if this is gonna be anything like a kitty, because I've never seen demon kitties actually, which is weird. You'd think Hollywood would like find some way to market kitties, right? And do like demon kitties or like cyber kitties, or both. Oh well, yeah. Like maybe when I do a different stream, I can talk about, because this one started to be about demons, so scale is not exactly the best example here. But I can do maybe a landscape a bit later, and just like talk about all the issues with like landscapes and environments and all that stuff. So maybe going to be more in depth there. Okay, fuck this kitty. This kitty is not doing anything for me. I'll hide it for now. Well, yeah, sure. Well, I live. Yeah, I basically it's my job, so I don't have any other job. I'm not like rich from it. I mean, but yeah, I live off my art and all that stuff, so it's pretty cool. I mean, if I wasn't, then I don't know what I would be doing. I studied freaking psychology, so it's like, you know. But yeah, it was actually sorry. It was actually I started realizing that I could make it into a job at the end of my studies. So I studied like for 5 years, and turns out I'm not gonna use anything the college taught me for, you know, for life. So yeah, art turned out to be like my career. Very unusual because I've never even, nobody in my family, nobody, I don't even know anybody from my old school when I was in high school that did anything similar. So it's very unusual for me that I kind of got into art. I don't know. But yeah, somehow it happened, which I'm kind of grateful because it's, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, who doesn't want to be an artist and make money, right? At least some money. Well, maybe. I think psychology study has more influence over the stories I want to tell, not so much any kind of technical aspects of art, or me learning Photoshop, or, you know, how to paint in digital. I mean, it does nothing for that. M- Maybe I do draw because I do enjoy like I enjoy psychological stories and like movies and whatever books. So it definitely influences me on some level. Oh hey, on some level, but I don't think it impacted me in any way as far as like starting art or like getting into it as a job or anything like that. So definitely not. Right now I'm writing. I'm always like trying to. I'm writing this like my graphic novel. Well, it's pretty much done as far as writing goes. So now I'm trying to figure out how to illustrate the whole thing. Yeah, it well, it is difficult when you have like, you know, it's difficult, I'd say, for in both cases. I'd say if you start with the in with like the mindset of like, yeah, I want to be an artist, like when you're still in school and you're like, I'm gonna go to an art college and become an artist. I think there's also pressure from that. Okay, thanks. You know, if you start as an artist, if you have like this idea that you will start like studying art right away, there's also pressure from that because art is not a very fast kind of like career. You will never, even after you study, you might not get like anywhere as far as like money goes. You know, I've there's lots of cases where people just like studied it and, you know, nothing is coming out of it. So there's pressure for both. But when I was starting, I obviously started as a hobby, and for me it was very slow, and before I started seeing some results. But once I started seeing them, like after a couple of years of doing art, like as a hobby, I started seeing some results, and I realized, okay, like I could do that. It will take me still a while to maybe turn it into like a full time, you know, job. But I could do that like with the hope of doing that, and it's sort of like, if somebody tells you, well, I can tell you right now that it's definitely a viable career choice, as in you can make money from it for sure. So it's only as far as like your own willpower and motivation goes. If you really want to be an artist, there's nothing. Even if you feel like you studied, I mean, I studied something else, so that's not really the problem. You can definitely become an artist just by yourself. You don't have to go to college for it. You can. It's just that a lot of people, I assume, would give up because they don't have anybody around them to sort of like motivate them, and they feel like, oh, I'm not getting, you know, anywhere. Demons. Well, it's partially because I don't like how demons are portrayed in popular fiction nowadays. In Hollywood, demons are. In games, it's a bit more variety, but in Hollywood, demons are either something like Balrog. Demons are basically either monsters, like a creature, kind of like brainless creature, like a Balrog. You don't get any sense of intelligence from that kind of design or that kind of like. It's not even a character, it's just a monster that heroes have to defeat. And then the other demons are basically human. It's just like a guy playing a demon. He might have like some small horns on the head, on the forehead, or something like that. But it's basically a guy, and there's no design involved. They just say it's a demon. Like super. Well, actually, I haven't watched Supernatural, but I think they have some demons there or something like that. But oh, this is like for the tablet, so it doesn't leave any grease or whatever, like just a glove. And yeah, I like demons, which are very rare. That's sort of like a combination where you have a very intelligent creature, but it's like an ugly and maybe creepy or disgusting or like scary creature. But I don't want them to be like brainless at the same time. I want them to be, because demons to me is like something that's demons to me are sort of like fears manifested. So, oh, I mean, I'm not saying that all artists do bad demons or anything like that. Sure, I've seen some artists do great design work and all that. I'm just saying, like, in the majority that you see in popular in movies or even in games, it's either like random monsters to kill, or some demon that's basically like a person that just like is called a demon. So I want like a whole kind of like you. I want demons to be established like a sort of like a race in a way. Like I want hell to be like a whole kind of world, and yeah, dumb monsters is like whatever. It doesn't matter whether it's, well, yeah, sophisticated demons. In my story and in my idea, demons are, because demons are immortal. Demons, I suppose. I'm not exactly thinking like from any kind of like mental projection or whatever, but yeah, I in my story, what I kind of want to do is I want, because demons are immortal in a way. Or demons are they're like fears or like bad stuff in person in a way. So I want them, if since they're immortal, you'd think if they lived forever since the dawn of time, you'd think they'd get smart after a while, right? Like a Balrog, in Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is like giving the speech, like Balrog is like a demon of ancient times. And Balrog is dumber than Smaug. I mean, Smaug is an intelligent dragon, but like why isn't Balrog like in any way like some kind of like an overlord, and so that's just a if I'm not trying to talk shit about Lord of the Rings, by the way, because I like that stuff, but I'm just saying that's the general kind of like feel that I get from a lot of popular even fiction. So yeah, like from all the religious texts and all that, demons are, they trick people, they deceive people, they're not portrayed as somebody who's just gonna kill somebody through brute force. So I don't like that part. Well, maybe not all of them have fallen. I mean, there are lots of like I don't know what to go by here. If it's religious views, I guess, but there are lots of like even in like folklore and stuff. There's lots of demons that are just basically you know whatever. There's like a demon who's the like steals your dreams or something like that. So it's like very demons are basically what happens when people are afraid of something. They don't know how to explain it, and it's like, it is religious, of course, but it's like some most I wouldn't say that. Oh yeah, right. Intelligence wise, sure. Isn't there not? Yeah, this same portrayal. I also don't like that an angel is like this beautiful and like basically a human with wings and like intelligent, but somehow a demon is supposed to be. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I want to do with demons, where it's sort of like I want them to be like this kind of society of creatures that are maybe ugly or whatever, but they're intelligent and they have their own laws. They have, well, maybe not laws specifically. Uh, have my demons have a link with fallen angels? Hard to say exactly. I do have fallen angels, but I'm not. I don't portray them as the same as demons. So there's like a clear separation. If I had to say, you know, there's basically if I write if I mean once I finish the story, if you're gonna read it, there's gonna be fallen angels, and then there's gonna be demons. They're gonna be like separate things. Well, just to distinguish, they might be self doubt. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of rely on clients, or for the most part, I kind of rely on clients contacting me because Emil. Is that how I pronounce your name actually, or is that in Sweden? Does it pronounce differently, Emil? Because I have a character like that, and I don't want to do like a reading. Anyway, about the self doubt, I about the self doubt, definitely, because well, it's like sometimes there are, especially like there are always those times where, for example, right now, after the holiday season, nobody wants to, everybody wants to commission artists before holidays, so they have like shit done for the holidays or something like that. And then there's like this break. So, yeah, I do get like worried that, oh man, maybe this month I'm not gonna get, I'm not gonna make enough money because I'm not getting any clients, any commission work from clients, like in a couple of weeks or something like that. So yeah, I definitely worry because yeah, this is I don't worry so much about like my own skills, because I can, with the internet, you have the ability to compare. So I'm not like the greatest artist or anything like that, but I can see some people making money with what they do, and I can compare, like, oh yeah, I'm not like that much worse, so I should be able to make some out of whatever I can do. So as far as skills goes, I'm not so much in doubt. I mean, I can't. If I'm in doubt, I'll just be, I won't be able to work. But as far as like getting jobs, getting clients and all that stuff, yeah, definitely. And especially if clients don't like something, it's kind of like because you can't just like quit, you kind of have to work with the client till the end. And there's lots of things that, yeah, that are very kind of intimidating as far as working as a freelancer and an artist. So. Yeah, angels. I don't know, the idea of angels, like angels are like messengers of God. Oh, which by the way, I like oh man, what's that movie called where the guy from Lord of the Rings, the Aragorn guy, Viggo Mortensen, right? He was in this movie where he played Satan. Fuck, what's that movie called? I forgot. It's like actually a series. There was Christopher Walken was there too as right, yeah, Prophecy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like that. I like this kind of like intelligence kind of thing from like the demons and angels, because they're very, it's pretty scary in that sense. Bayonetta. I never really played Bayonetta. Yeah, let me read because I'm like behind with the chat. When I'm blocked. Okay, so about the prints, I have some prints on DeviantArt, um, which I'm kind of like not that big on selling prints, but if you want some specific image that I don't have as a print on DeviantArt or whatever, you can message me and I'll upload it as a print, and you can get it. Yeah, I mean, if you want. What else? Um, all right, if I have an art block, well, I mentioned this briefly before. I It's sort of like, this whole thing where you don't know what to paint and you don't like it. It's very, you should if you once you have if you're studying art, you will have like a sort of like mental force kind of forcing you to practice, even if you don't like it, because you have to get better. You kind of understand that in the future it's going to be your job. If it's a hobby, if it's a hobby, it takes a lot more willpower. Uh, well, hold on, let me answer this technical skill. I mean, yeah, like I said, this I never studied it, so I was basically doing it as a hobby until I started feeling like I can actually, like, when somebody posts. That's the best thing about like being online as a digital artist, is that you can compare yourself. So when somebody posts, like some artist you like posts a commission, it's like an album cover or whatever, some concept art, and you feel like, yeah, I could do that, or you try to do the same, and yeah, you kind of succeed, at least on some competent level, then yeah, you should like try looking for jobs, apply somewhere. So at that point, I mean, you will instantly know once you are on a certain level. It's just that until you're on that level, you kind of don't know. You know what I mean? Like if you're bad, you don't know how good you are. But once you're good, you don't know who's better and you don't know who's worse, because you have like a certain level yourself to compare yourself with. Because once, like, a child can't say how good it is at drawing something. So uh, yeah, art block. I mean, yeah, art block is when you are studying, you will usually have. That's what good about. That's, I'd say, the only thing that's good about studying something very specific, that for sure you're gonna be like working in that, like, because you're surrounded by people who are doing the same thing, and you know you're motivated just by that. It's like the gym effect. You go to gym, and you don't go to gym to read a book, right? You go to a library for that. So once you're in gym, you just kind of, yeah, you have to work out. So and if you're just by yourself, you're not studying, it takes a lot more willpower. Same with people who don't want to leave the house. They don't exercise that much as people who go to gym. And same thing. So if you surround yourself by things that are sort of related to art, if you watch something, I'm sure it will come to you, as in your art block. Maybe your art block is not so much an art block, but like you being burned out. Like if you finish something recently, maybe take some time off. Everybody has like a certain capacity how long they can do something. So uh, you know maybe you're just burned out for now, and you need to take like a break, or do something else. Always do something else. Switch mediums. Do some sketching on paper. Do some photography. Do whatever. Doesn't have to be art all the time. There are other things that teach you about art without actually like having a pen or a brush in your hand. So whatever. read some books, read stories, read or whatever it is you like that you feel like is somehow related to art. How long does it take? I mean, client work takes a while. Like I always I always tell like if it's a cover, like cover illustration, like a singular illustration, I usually tell like 2 weeks, even though it's not, there's no way I'm going to be working 2 weeks nonstop on it, but communication and all that, and you know, just like editing things afterwards if they don't like something, it's always going to take more. So just in case, I'm telling him like a longer deadline. I mean, unless they tell me how fast they want it done. I always tell them like a bit longer. But as far as personal painting goes, it's really all over the place. Like sometimes I can finish something in like 2 hours, and it looks better than some of the client work I do. And I'm like, man, hope nobody isn't gonna notice, you know, that I'm a fraud. But you know, once I get like an idea that I want to execute very precise and was like, hey, yeah, I want to do this and that and that, and I kind of need to hit lots of check marks, and you know, it's really hard to tell, because sometimes I just do like a few sketches and then I have to stop, and then after a while I'm like, okay, I'll continue on this, and you know, it's really for very big illustrations, it can be like up to 10 hours over, you know, a couple of days or something like that. But usually, if it's something like on instinct, if it's like a speed painting or something, you know, it's like a couple of hours. I can do it like in one go. Yeah, it definitely depends on, because sometimes even if you're not like, even if you don't have an art block, you're still kind of sometimes like I'm doing right now with the cats and all that. If you've seen the beginning, I'm like looking for shapes and looking for random things to just like paint, because I don't have like very specific ideas. So yeah, it kind of depends on what you want to do, what you, sometimes you feel like, hey, I want to practice like characters, but you kind of, you know, you start doing characters and it doesn't work out, so you do like a landscape. So there's lots of kind of time uh, gone on random things, which isn't bad exactly. If you, as long as you're like sketching or painting something, even if it doesn't turn into a finished illustration, it's still good. It's still practice. So you're learning just from that. So yeah, as long as you can make yourself sit down and practice, it's always going to be like worth it. Right. So yeah. I kind of answered that before. Well, like I said, the first artist that got me into this is Greg Martin. He does space art and like photography. And then, you know, Craig Millens was the guy that got me into general painting and doing, you know, other stuff. So I still like this guy. I think he produces like pretty good work. So yeah. And well, a couple of others. I can, well, actually, you can go to my art station and I have like a few. I'm not that, you know, yeah, Craig Millens is like what the fuck? I saw like an interview by him, and he was like telling, you know, answering, because he was like one of the very first who actually was starting to do digital painting, like as a profession, because everybody else, he was, you know, there were no tablets. He was doing it with a mouse at first. Oh well, I do sometimes with layers, but you know, this is just speed painting, so pretty much. So yeah, Craig Millens was doing this like, you know, with like a bunch of stuff with like the mouse still, and he was doing like, he was there when the first tablets started appearing and all that, and so he was like telling like in the interview, he was like talking about like how uh, you know, this transition, because he was doing industrial design or something like that, and then he got into this whole concept art thing, and you know, it became um, grew into this whole industry. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. A multi-layer, I don't use layer when I don't have any. Well, I suck at a lot of things. I mean, uh, I'm like I'm good at a few things, and I'm really bad at a lot of them. And when I'm bad at something, I'm like trying to do it as less as possible in public. So I guess that's why I'm painting demons right now. But I'm really bad, I'd say, at very clean interiors. Because interiors, I mean, I would use, if I had to do it, like if I absolutely had to, I would use some 3D. Because interiors is like a pain to me because you can't improvise with form that much because it has to be, well, I mean, it depends on the interior, I guess, but still, it's like very. If you look at a lot of like interior concept art, it's very it has to be very clean because you need to understand like the structure of whatever the interior is in. And this is not exactly what I do. I'm sort of like about atmosphere and like weird unusual shapes and like that sort of things. So I'd say very clean, like concept art interiors is probably my weakest point. If I had to do like client work for that, I would have to do lots of practice and figure out how to do that properly. And yeah, probably use 3D. Well, with 3D is much easier because you can just like block out the whole whatever it is room or the hall or whatever it is. So the perspective is like pretty good. But otherwise, yeah. Also, with interior, it's like another thing what somebody asked about scale. With interior, you can't really play with scale that much if you're doing some, like sometimes you do something and the bed looks like it's gigantic, and because you can't like just pack a room with a bunch of characters or with a bunch of like fog sometimes or whatever it is. So you can't really like you can't really polish up the corners with those effects or those tricks that you can do like in a landscape. Or well, not to the same degree anyway. So yeah, that. Anything? Well, yeah, somebody asked about the layers before. I Yeah, well, clean work. I mean, clean work is what you get paid at if you do concept art for, if you need to design something for the 3D guys, you kind of need it to be clean. Maybe not exactly, like a photo or anything like that. It doesn't have to be like a matte painting, but it has to be clean in terms of it has to everything in there has to be obvious to the eye. Like you can't design a room where you like look at it and you don't know if there is like a corpse on the bed or if it's like an actual character sleeping or something like this. Like that's not a thing in like concept art. Like that's more about you doing like personal illustration. I mean, oh, thanks. Well, yeah, I'm very like I said before, I'm very about like feelings and emotions and atmosphere and all that stuff. I'm not so much a technical artist. I don't do plans. I don't do architectural stuff that much. I mostly do like stuff that I guess mostly for to inspire the if I'm working on a team with like other people, it's mostly to inspire. Man, my English is like to inspire others, I guess, and just to give them like general mood and feeling for where the project is headed. So that's kind of like my job, I suppose. Okay, so wings. And maybe the wings are a mistake. Well, you know, I'm really into games in general, but lately I'm like playing only a few games, like a few old games that I used to play lots of Dota, but you know, the community and all that stuff, I'm sort of back and forth with that. I'm not playing any new releases, if that's what you're asking. Like anything people keep telling me like about Dark Souls and all that. Like I haven't played any of them because I don't have time for for like a lone single player games. Yeah, I'm a fan of like Diablo 2 and all that stuff. And well, actually, I guess it's one of the main inspirations that I have throughout life. And yeah, I play like very oldish games that I'm used to that I don't need to like Skyrim. I played Skyrim, but Skyrim is like I can't invest 50 hours into a game. You know, like so those games are they pass by me. I kind of know what they're about, but I'm not really Demon's Crest. No, well, I can check it out later, sure. Diablo 2 on PS1. I don't know how you play that on a console, but maybe. I'm not sure. Oh, I know some concepts from Dark Souls, and I've seen the art around, but like I said, never really played the game. Oh, okay. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. The Dark Souls is like. Well, I mean, people also keep saying it's like hard and all that. It's also I don't mind like difficult games. It's just that, like I said, I can't really invest too much time into like replaying. So yeah, single player games that take like too much time as aren't like for me. Well, multiplayer games aren't exactly either, but I can, you know, I'm actually a big Quake player, Quake 3, you know, Quake Arena. But I used to play for, I don't know, like 12 years or something. But other than that, like I said, never really playing that much of anything. Yeah, I heard only good stuff about Bloodborne too, so it's only on consoles, right? On PS4 or whatever. Right. Yeah, well, I don't have a console like any console. I never really got into consoles myself, so well, like I said, right now I don't think I will because I'm not playing that much of anything. Pretty sad. Sad life of an artist. No time for games. Right. Well, it's also because, you know, since I kind of need a good computer for right PC Master Race. I kind of need a good computer for well work, so might as well play on the computer instead of buying a console. Besides, I have big monitors and all that, so not really in need of TVs or anything. So, in fact, I don't have a TV. I think I don't watch television. Final Fantasy? No, I like watched some. By the way, the only like I played a few games, on consoles. My favorite game is actually from a console. It's Shadow of the Colossus, which I guess you could say maybe it's an inspiration. But like I haven't really played that many games on consoles because I never really owned any. I sort of like some friend had like or I like borrowed from like a cousin or something like that. Hmm. Don't know that. Chakan or Chekan or whatever. Hmm. Right, yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is definitely like playing it is like a lecture on scale. Oh, don't get me wrong, I totally love story games and lone RPGs over any multiplayer games. It's just that I can't get into like a story because to play a game I can't do anything else. Like right now I can listen to an audiobook while painting, but I can't play. So that's why I'm playing Path of Exile, which is like a Diablo game, and I can play whatever. I can play half an hour or an hour, and then I stop. And there's no story there, so you just like progress with a character. So that's my only point. But I'm with you on the story stuff. I can't stomach a multiplayer community in nowhere really. It's like maybe if it was like a Quake Duel kind of thing where you play like just by yourself, it's fine. But when it's like when you play with a team and people are just like trash talking each other, yeah, not my thing. Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is basically just boss battles. So yeah, I definitely like it because of that. Because you don't need to mull through a horde of like just random monsters. So it's definitely a positive. And it's like the plot is pretty simple, but it's like a very mysterious kind of story. So mm, yeah, I never played Overwatch myself, but apparently people are crazy about that game. Yeah, games. I don't know what it is about games and all the quick time events. It's like. Oh, wait. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna say um, games made by Supergiant Games. You know, like Bastion and Transistor. It's probably right now, if I had to pick, it's probably my favorite gaming company, and it's like a very small company. So I don't know. I guess to the previous question of what would be my ideal job, maybe if I worked for them, maybe I would like it. But yeah, they make sick games. They're like they have like this kind of indie feel, but also are very polished and stuff. So I'm very excited about the new game they're gonna make called Pyro, right? Or Pyre, yeah, Pyre. So yeah, Transistor is good overall. Even the gameplay, I actually didn't expect it to have. I mean, it's not that complicated, same as like Bastion, but everything about it, I can't really complain about a single thing. The story, the soundtrack, the gameplay was really good, and you never get really bored because you can, you can try different combinations of all the stuff. So a really, really great game. Really, the company is really doing great stuff. And it's one of those games that it's not super time consuming. It's not like a 20 hours game or anything like that. It's shorter, and you can replay it. It has quite a lot of replay value if you enjoy it. So I would definitely recommend in case anybody is wondering. So yeah, I'm not getting anywhere with this painting. Yeah, Steam is good. Steam is a good thing to have. PC master race and all that shit. Well, it's like this, like this meme about game companies, and it's like Valve. Like we used to make games, now we make money, because why even bother? They probably it's definitely a shame. And like Half-Life 3 is, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, Half-Life is so sad. But we got. I don't know if they're working on it because they're releasing like Half-Life was supposed to have a connection to Portal because like they found in the Borealis in the ship they found like the ship was from Aperture Science or whatever. So there was supposed to be some connection, but they made two Portal games in that time. So I don't know if they're actually making anything out of Half-Life 3 with that. So it's really maybe I think maybe what happened is they realized they don't actually want to connect that much with Portal, as in Half-Life and Portal, and then they're like, but they already did this Aperture Science thing as a teaser, so now maybe they're stuck, or maybe they're just like, well, whatever, we're making, well, Dota 3 basically got released, but yeah. Chocom. Oh, right. Yeah, I'll have to check out that game. Oh yeah, sure, I'll check it out. I'm just man, this guy looks so ugly. It's awesome. He's like sure. There was a story I once read which was called I read it when I was in teenager or something. I was like 15. It was called. It's like 10 pages long or something like that. But it won some award. It was called Warrior of Perdition or something like that. And it was like about a demon who was like gathering souls or whatever. And this is like my first kind of uh, I don't know connection with this kind of like yeah, demons don't have to be like just either monsters or like somebody who's pretty much human. Yeah, that's what highlights do. Highlights are pretty awesome. Oh, I don't really, I don't keep in touch with a lot of my school friends because my high school and I kind of my whole family was like moving around a bit and stuff, and my whole high school like friendship thing was like I keep in touch maybe with two friends, and they don't one is like one works in a bank and another is like in the construction. So they obviously like all the whenever I show them images, they think it's cool. But I don't keep in touch with many, so I can't really tell. I don't visit my small hometown that often. But yeah, it would be cool. Honestly, the teachers at my high school sucked a lot. Like the teacher, actually, it's funny. I remember a lesson once, and there was this art history teacher, and she was like everybody hated her, and for good reason. She was just, and I remember there was like one boring like lesson about some dead guy who was painting something or whatever, and I was sketching something, just whatever, because I was bored on the last in the last row in the classroom, and she noticed, and she basically like chewed me out. She like, hey, you're not like you're not Picasso or anything, so stop like sketching. And here I am sketching. So that would be fun to talk to that. If she's still alive, she was pretty old. She's probably dead. Oh, my family. Well, like I said, it was like a very slow transition for me. So I did have like a degree in like psychology. But at that point, I was sort of like I earned a little bit with art, so it wasn't so much. It wasn't so much like a leap where I'm like, okay, like fuck everything else, even if it kills me, I'm gonna become an artist. It wasn't exactly like that, but I mean, my mother was okay with everything. My mother is a very understanding person. She wouldn't want me to do freaking like counseling for old couples or something like that with my psychology degree. If I want to quit that and do art, she's fine with that. So there was no like obstructions as far as like family support goes. So this guy's a bit too. Needs a better neck because he's like stumped. Well, I mean, teaching is not so bad. I mean, art history is not exactly. I don't think people who do art, like I couldn't teach art history. I don't know anything about it, and I think it's very different. So I'm not sure if any of them wanted to be. Maybe they're just interested in art. I don't think anybody. I don't think all of them are failed artists. I think that's an overstatement. I think maybe they're just. I think they're teaching. I think the most plausible vision of those people I have is they are sort of into art, so they teach art history while doing like some painting or some like sculpting or some art stuff for as a hobby. I don't think they actually ever intended to be like leave a mark on history or something like that. I mean, that's a very ambitious kind of thing. So I'm just saying, I'm not hating on art historians, but okay, this guy's like totally out. Oh yeah, Candle Flame. I was gonna do like a little series with Square designs. Um, well, like basically Square canvas with and fits in either portraits or some I don't know, maybe landscapes or something on a square, because you don't actually see that many square illustrations. Square is pretty boring, I gotta admit, but if you can make it work, I think it stands out. because you don't see it that often. So it's all about that, I guess. I'm originally from. Well, I'm not sure how your geography is. I'm originally from a small country called Belarus. It's like near Poland, and I'm living in Spain now, not in LA. Well, the reason why I have LA on ArtStation is because I was working with a studio in LA, and I mean my ArtStation is only a couple of months old. I wasn't really putting anything, so I put the place where I was working remotely, not in LA, but the studio was there, so I figured I'll put it there, and I figure maybe it also gonna give a cue to whoever wants to hire me that I don't mind working for like studios there or something like that, because I don't want to put like Madrid or something like in Spain and get like uh, Spanish studios to hire me, because I don't speak Spanish actually that well, just a bit, but So anyway, yeah, that's my situation. Sorry. Well, at this point, it's pretty much by circulation. So I post stuff, and a lot of times people just find you. Once you have like some base following, it's you can assume that some people will want commissions from you. But in the beginning, so yeah, I just right now I'm not really like actively searching for jobs. But in the beginning, you kind of, well, like I said, if you feel like you have the skill to apply, I mean, even if you don't, whatever, applying doesn't cost anything, so you can just send out your portfolio anywhere. And if you see some people looking for designers or illustrators or whatever on some websites, yeah, you can also send them a message. And yeah, I mean, that's how you find work, unless you want it locally. Locally, it depends what you have locally, because I didn't have anything locally in where I was living, so I was pretty much stuck with freelance if I wanted to do art. So that's how I'm doing this right now. But yeah, this at this point, just uh, I'm just like being lazy and waiting for emails in a way. Well, not being lazy, I guess I'm practicing, but if I don't have any work, it's not so much me like going to or like looking for a studio or client. It's mostly about whoever emails me and like asks me to do something for them. And I actually put this up. This guy's nose is very weird. Oh yeah, sure. I know Finju. I mean, not personally, but yeah, I've seen his. He has lots of tutorials on YouTube. His tutorials. One of the first that I was starting to watch and try to like replicate and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely know of his work. I'm not a crazy fan as far as I mean, I do prefer somebody like Craig Millins or something like that. But he's definitely it's definitely awesome that he did like I don't know how many, like hundreds of videos to help. They're all free. You can just Google them or go to YouTube and look them up. So there's definitely like lots of things to learn from just watching them. So yeah, that's awesome. You can look him up in case you're interested in. Well, yeah, whoever is here, you can look him up and look at his tutorials. The recent ones are all about, I think, are all about like developing IPs, so maybe not as useful for beginner artists and stuff. So you might want to look at the older ones because he talks about actually about the previous question that somebody had about how like with line art and all that, and he has like a few tutorials where he shows like some things you can do, and so yeah, you can check them out. Yeah, just Google Fenju YouTube and you'll get it. Right, yeah. No, well, very skeletal, skull-looking guy I have here. What book? Right. Well, detailed line work is again he does a lot of like actual design work, as in designing like robots and characters and all that stuff, where you kind of need to have um, like an actual clean design. So line art is the best approach there. You know, he does. I mean, he does a lot of speed painting too, and just like bashing things. But when it comes to like character concepts and whatever, like some tanks, robots, whatever else he does, he does very detailed line illustrations for all the like gadgets and all the stuff that all the designs have. So it's very I like I said, I didn't do this kind of work, so that's why I don't as far as line art goes, I don't really do it that clean. And yeah, and he definitely has all the like perspective stuff figured out, and all the robots, all the designs that he sketches, they're very, you can model just by the line art. When you like when you give it to a 3D guy, you can model just by the line art because it's so clean. and yeah, I don't. Nobody can model my shit, 'cause, you know. Right, so what else to talk about? Not sure. What kind of movies do you guys watch? Tarantino movies, sure, that's cool. Yeah, I like Tarantino too. What's your favorite Tarantino movie? Oh yeah, Mad Max, the Fury Road, or any of the older ones? Yeah, Fury Road was pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, it's like, and the guy, the director is like, he was doing, what did he do? Like he did like a 3D animated children's movie before, something like that, like Happy Feet or something like that. And now he does like an action movie, and it's like better than all those action directors. It's, so yeah. Lucifer. No, I rarely draw anything like uh, like that specific. I don't draw, any specific angels or any Lucifers or any demons. So I've never drawn any Lucifer kind of interpretation. Yeah, the Mad Max is definitely a thing. It's like everything after Mad Max, all this, the Borderlands and like all the what else is there? Like the Rage and all the games and all the other stuff. So yeah, Mad Max definitely left a mark on culture. Yeah, some people. It's just that sometimes there's like a whole year that doesn't have any movies with like that many great stunts. I think I definitely agree that stunt people should get like some awards and Oscars, but it just sometimes yeah, it's definitely nobody knows any names of a stuntman, so I definitely think stuntmen should be like recognized in some way. That guy, like that guy who does Captain America or some shit, like the dude that jumps around and like falls and all that. I think I've seen like the video reel, and it was like just crazy stunts, like well, DiCaprio is Yeah, well, the armor is. I'm sort of like trying to have them a bit like nobility kind of looking, like with the capes and all that stuff. So it's like bit armor, bit, something. Not so much like a plate, just like a full plate, not like a knight, more like uh, yeah, because they're supposed to be like I don't know, posh in a way. Well, not posh, but like pretentious demons, I guess. So yeah, okay, cool. Favorite movie? You mean from Tarantino in general? I mean, from Tarantino, eh, I do like Pulp Fiction too. I'd say that's the first one that comes to mind, so I guess it's my favorite. But in general, a favorite movie. Well, man, that's really hard to pick. I mean, let me think for a minute, because a few cross my mind, but I just don't want to. They look sort of well. I do like some old kind of Alien, Terminator kind of stuff, but I wouldn't say it's like it doesn't hold up in my because there are like I've seen like recently I've seen this movie called Witch. It's actually from last year or something. It's like with a double V instead of a W, like VVH, like And as far as a horror movie, I really loved it. I think it's possibly, well, at least in the past decades, probably my favorite horror movie. And this is the kind of thing I mean as like, yeah, it's the kind of thing I mean is like horror, and a lot of this stuff doesn't really hold up for me because, like, you can watch The Shining, and then after a while you watch it again, and it's like, it's scary and creepy, but after you know it, it's not so much. Yeah, The Witch definitely was awesome. I totally recommend it if you're into horror. And it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't just like jump scares, which is, I think today's horror is like either jump scares or just disgusting stuff where it's like some zombie bites and it's like like blood and stuff going. It's not so much like horror; it's just like disgust and like surprise. There's no horror. But yeah, this one definitely nails it. Well, I like Blade Runner for sci-fi. I like yeah, commercial horror movies are definitely like mainstream horror movies. They're not so much horror. They're like World War Z and shit. Uh, well, I don't think people like jump scares that much. Jump scares definitely engage people because you react to them, but I don't think if you see a movie with like lots of jump scares, I don't think after a while, if you think about it, I don't think you'd leave like a very good review. Aside from well, it had lots of jump scares, so I'm not sure on that. Oh yeah, I've seen It Follows. Yes, also very good. Babadook, I kind of wanted to see that one, but didn't get the chance. I've seen, what was it? Uh, there was a movie about this, about like some sister. I don't remember the name of it. About some sister and like a brother who the brother was like in a mental hospital, and there was like a mirror that killed their parents or something, and the brother was like put in the mental hospital, and then the sister finds the mirror again and tries to destroy it, but the mirror has like you know it's like, well, not possessed, but anyway, I'm not gonna spoil if you want to see it, but I just don't remember the title of that one. If somebody remembers, yeah, Oculus, right? Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, solid kind of horror movie. Yeah, I've seen the first one. I mean, the second one's gonna come out soon, right? I've seen like trailers or something. John Wick, I mean. Okay, I'm kind of like getting stuck on this, or other. I don't know if I should do something weird with this. Bring back the kitties, maybe. And let's do like something with swords or something. Eh. Oh, by the way, in last year, I guess, in 2016, there was this Shin Godzilla by, a Japanese Godzilla movie, which I thought was really good. People complain about the designs and stuff, but I think everything worked there really well. And like watching that in comparison to like the American Godzilla, just like such a stark contrast between how the movie works. Because in America, there's always, like in Hollywood, there's always like I guess that's why it's engaging. But there's always like this one hero guy that's gonna save like some kid, and like he's gonna set up the bomb himself, or that sort of thing. But in the Shin Godzilla, it was like nothing like that. There's like a team working together, like everybody is like a separate role. There's nobody. Anyway, I totally recommend it. But when I was watching it, I don't know where it was. I literally freaking pirated it because I don't know where to watch it. It's been like out for I don't know how long, and I was like, it doesn't run anywhere. I can't buy it anywhere. I can't, there was nothing. So I had to just like, watch it in Japanese. So yeah, maybe if you find a better version, or like manage to watch it somewhere. Because I think it was like just a limited release in Japan. I'm not sure if it was released anywhere else, but it was definitely good. I totally recommend it. Oh, well, Pacific Rim 1 was pretty good. I mean, so yeah, sure, Pacific Rim 2 should be should be a good movie, unless they totally screw it up. I'm sort of like waiting for this Dark Tower adaptation, like by the series was written by Stephen King, and they're making a movie now. So I'm kind of right, yeah. Del Toro is pretty good, and yeah, I'm waiting for that, and I'm not sure what else I would watch. Mostly reading books and listening to audiobooks, like I was saying. Well, Lovecraftian. Hold on a second. Oh. Well, Lovecraft, Lovecraftian stories. I'm not. Well, I honestly, the Call of Cthulhu is possibly. I'm not that crazy about like Lovecraftian stories. Well, I really like the whole the tentacle and weird stuff that he creates, but not so much the stories themselves because they're very description. There's no actual. It doesn't feel like they have a character. So maybe that's why it's hard to make a movie out of them. Also because it's always some guy telling the story like a survivor. So it's it's not the same as like just having this. Yeah, Ghost in the Shell is gonna be, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson. I'm a fan of Ghost in the Shell too. So yeah, kind of. I'm not sure if I should be looking forward to that one, but yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got him. The Ghost in the Shell teaser? I'm not sure. I mean, I'll reserve judgment until I see the movie because you know what happened to Dragon Ball, right? So yeah, there was lots of people complaining about all kinds of stuff as they usually do, but I don't. My only complaint that I didn't like in the trailer, like as far as technical stuff goes, is that like some of the effects. Yeah. Like it feels like an action movie. It's which I suppose Ghost in the Shell had some action, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna have the same depth for sure as neither the 9050 uh, 95's anime or the series. I think it's definitely gonna be like a lower version of what the anime did. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna wait to see it and then I'll judge whether it's good. Well, yeah, yeah. People definitely not realizing that like Hollywood is how business is done in Hollywood, but you can't blame them either. Like if a person hates somebody in a role, I mean it's not based on anything, as in you shouldn't hate somebody just because of that. But if you think it's their own choice, you can't exactly blame. the whole company. Obviously, the first one to blame is gonna be the actor. So sad truth, but that's how it's gonna be happening. The companies are getting away with freaking everything. So because they're not a singular person. It's much harder to hate on an entire company than like on somebody who's like right in front of you who you see. So well, that's my psychology lesson here.
When are you gonna finish?
What are you doing? Well, in a bit. I mean, I don't know. Half an hour maybe. So. Mhm.
Okay.
Right, I kind of need to wrap this up for today, so I'll do like last half an hour. I've been doing this for like more than 2 hours anyway. It's a bit too unexpected for the first stream, I guess. So I'll just do like whatever last. And yeah, I'll finish up in like half an hour or so, guys. So yeah, thanks for joining and staying with me and talking to me, because that would be awkward if nobody was replying to whatever I was saying. I'd be like a 40s silent movie. Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I'm doing it for my pleasure as well, so always happy when people join. That's cool. And hopefully I can do more in the future, like more streaming more often. And oh, by the way, what's like preferably for you guys as far as time zones go? Because I was trying to make it, Europe, America, more or less. But I got some people asking because they're, from Asian region, and I'm just wondering like how many people here are from, like whether they would be okay with a different time zone, or like a different time to stream or whatever. I don't know. If you have any suggestions as far as that goes. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's about the same as me, so yeah, cool. Yeah, later. Cool. Yeah, later it's just that, like Asia is 6 a.m. right now, so or something like that. So I'm sort of like considering whether like people from Australia or Asia or like uh, other parts, like I don't want to leave people out, so maybe I'll do like some streams at some time and wait, you didn't make one symmetric. Uh, well, I wasn't exactly thinking about. I might fix them to be symmetric, but when I was first sketching, I might have added like more horns, so I wasn't really sure. Because this is the main guy, I might have like went with 4 horns or something and like evened it out a bit. You know, like something like, well, but yeah, it's as far as design goes, I wasn't exactly thinking about that. So you could consider a mistake, I suppose. Too late for me, right? Yeah, it definitely it's also like past 12 for me, so it's a bit late. So I think I'll just do I'll split up like I'll be doing 2 streams a week or something like that, and I'll do some bit of the evening for Europe and one sort of like in the kind of like right now, and one maybe at midday or afternoon or something like this. So that would be better for any Asian audience. So I'm just warning you in case. I'll obviously announce it like on Facebook or whatever, in case you want to watch it. But just warning you right now too. And yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I think I'll stop for today. I'll probably continue like working on the same thing later. Thanks, and yeah, thanks for joining me, and hope you had a good time. If you have, I will always be asking for questions, so or like for suggestions on what to paint and stuff. So you can either comment on my Facebook or DeviantArt or send me a message, whatever it is. So yeah, I read all my messages. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. It was quite a lot of fun, and I'll be tuning off. Bye.